Welcome to my Quilt Lab. Today I'm going to show you how to download the free fabric collections that EQ8 offers. Let's get started. Every month, EQ8 showcases a collection by offering a free monthly download. It's September 2021 and I'm going to walk you through the download process and then show you a quick design of the collection. Let's head to electricquilt.com. Then we're going to click the Freebies and Lessons. In the drop-down menu, you'll see EQ Fabric of the Month. September's Fabric of the Month collection is called So Floral, and the designer is Timeless Treasures. Click the blue Download button and select the operating system that you use. I clicked Windows, and you'll see down the bottom left corner that the files are downloading. Once downloaded, open the file and the program's install wizard will prompt the install. Now let's click Next and then Finish when complete. Now let's head to EQ8. In EQ8, I'll do a quick design with this fabric. Right now it's untitled, so let's name it. We'll make a new project, and I'm going to call it Fabric of the Month, September 2021. So Floral by Timeless Treasures. Once I click OK, you'll see that the title actually shows up in that top left-hand corner. I'm going to open up the project sketchbook because I want to start with a clean slate. So under the Blocks tab, I'm going to clear out all these unused blocks. I'm also going to do this for the motifs and for the stencils. I'm going to hit the Fabrics button next, and I'm going to clear out all of these fabrics as well. We'll click Close, and we'll go back to the main screen where we'll hit Design a Quilt from Scratch. Once I get into the quilt table, I'll now add the fabric collection to my sketchbook. We're going to go up to Libraries and the Fabric Library. If I scroll down to the bottom, underneath the default fabric collections, you'll find the Fabric of the Months. We're going to click 2021 and open it up, and then scroll down to the Timeless Treasures September month. We'll click that and the collection name, and there's all the swatches. We're going to select all of them and add them to the sketchbook. And we'll close this. The first quilt I make with a new collection is basically a swatch card so that I can get a good look at each print. So under the New Quilt tab, I'll keep that horizontal default and head to the Layout tab. There's 17 swatches, so I'll pick 5 horizontal blocks and then 4 vertical blocks. I'll keep the size of the block the same because it doesn't matter for this purpose, and I will put a sashing in between each block of about 1 inch. Moving on to the Borders tab. I'm going to keep that border at 1 inch as well, just so there's a consistent look. We'll head to Design. And I'm not going to put any blocks in here because I want to focus on the fabric. So I'll skip the Blocks tool and go to the Fabrics tool in the ribbon. There's all the swatches. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one in each block so that I see a nice selection, a nice big piece of each piece of fabric. And I like to keep them in the same order that you see it in the little palette window to the left so that I can refer to it. And because I only have 17 swatches, there will be a couple of leftover blank blocks once I have everything filled in. Gray and the black. And now let's fill in all those sashings and borders and those empty blocks that I don't need. So I'm going to hit colors over there in the palette. And usually I pick a black, but because black is so prominent in this collection, I'm going to pick something that's really going to let this collection pop. So I'm going to hit a nice bright blue, I think. Yeah, that one looks pretty good. Let's fill that in. I'm using the Control key so that when I click on the borders, all of it happens. Same with the sashings and the little cornerstones. And we'll fill in those blocks as well. So now we have a nice collection, a nice fabric swatch. You can see it there without the grid lines, what it looks like. And of course, I'm going to want to save this by hitting the Add to Sketchbook. Always save. And now when I open up the View Sketchbook, when I go to the Quilts tab, it's going to be the first quilt that I see. Like I said, it's a nice way to see everything. All right, so let's design a real quilt now. So when I'm thinking about a design for a quilt, I really like to look at the fabric and see where I can find some inspiration. Now the name of this fabric is Sew Floral, Sew S-E-W Florals, which means there's going to be some obvious sewing accoutrements plus the pretty floral fabric. So let's take a closer look at some of these swatches to find some inspiration. So I'm going to go over to the little pop-out button, and it's going to pop out that swatch, and I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger so we can go through some of these swatches. Now, see, this is a bunch of sewing sayings. So many projects, so much fabric, both in black and white. There's a dress form. Got a sewing machine. Some scissors. Of course, a bunch of different florals. And this is a patchwork one. Looks like there's a sawtooth kind of print in there in that center spot. Some flying geese maybe. Half square triangles for sure. That's good inspiration. Moving on. Pretty black and white. Oh, some buttons. That's very cute. And of course there's some coordinating fabrics as well. So we're going to head to the block library under libraries, and I'm going to start doing some searches for some of the things that we found. First I'm going to see if I can search for that sawtooth. So I'm going to head down here to the search feature and go to my note card and put in sawtooth and see what we come up with when we hit the search. Oh, a bunch of. And I just want something basic, so I'll pick this one and add it to the sketchbook. And I just popped up in the note card so I can go to this file here as well and see if there's anything else in it that might work well for this design. So let's go back to the eBlock library. And go to variable stars, and there's that sawtooth that we want to add. And there's several variations in here too, so I'm going to add a few of these to our sketchbook. All right, I think I got a pretty good selection of those sawtooth. Let's take one last quick look. Yeah, some of them are a little too fancy for what I'm looking for. So I'm going to go back down to that search function and I'm going to do another search and let's look up some of those sewing things. So let's put in sewing here and do a search. Bunch of items found. There's my sewing machines. There's that cute little old-fashioned looking sewing machine. Look at that. Pretty, almost exact. So I'm going to take a look at that note card and it's going to tell me where I can find it in the tree of images. Contemporary Applique Design Studio. So I'm going to X out of that. I'm going to go back after I add it, and there it is, Contemporary Design Studio. I'm going in here just to see if I can't find anything else. There's the sewing machine I added. And let's just scan through these images and see what else I can find. There's some scissors. It's not exactly what the fabric looks like, but it's okay. Let's see what else there is. Some buttons, a zipper. Oh, there's a dress form. That's perfect. I love that. Looks just like the fabric, so let's add that to Sketchbook. Thimble, safety pins, iron. You know, there's some cute fabrics here, like little fabric swatches and bolts of fabrics. Let's add those two, both to the Sketchbook. I don't really see anything else except for those scissors. Now they're not exact, so I'm not thrilled about this. But let's do a search of just scissors. Maybe there's some other scissors. Type scissors in here. Hit search. 2 items. That's good. So there's 2. Oh, the second one. It's pretty similar to what we see in that fabric. I like that a whole lot. Let's just add that to the Sketchbook as well. And I'm going to head back to the EQ block library and just hit some of my favorite, folders here up under the classic piece. So let's take a look at the classics. And I just like to scroll through these. These are a bunch of your basic blocks. I like to go through these to see if anything pops out or if I get any other inspiration. Something that might complement that sawtooth block that we found earlier. Let's go down to simple blocks too, see if there's anything in here. Some square and squares, bow tie. Oh, there's a flying geese. Let's add that because we know we saw that in the fabric. And just give it one more look. And why don't we add one of those half square triangles as well? It's a nice basic block to add to a design. From there, I'm gonna just take a quick peek. 9 patch. Let's take a look at 4 patch. There's some half square triangle. That's good. Let's add that one. Just a quick look through here. And I think I'm good. It's a nice little start at least. Let's close out of this and head back to designing the quilt. So I clicked on my block tools. There's all my blocks. My little inspiration of blocks. Some sawtooth, some applique, and then some basics. Let's design a new quilt. So hit new quilt. Not going to use this horizontal that we did for the swatches. I'm actually going to do a custom set because that's going to let me change the different size of blocks. And you'll notice that the screen is blank. There's no horizontal, there's no vertical, there's nothing on point. I'm going to head to layout and I'm just going to keep it here, but I can change this later. And same thing with borders. I'm going to make the border a little bit bigger so it looks a little bit more like a traditional quilt. So somewhere between 3 to 4 inches, maybe. 4 is a little big. Let's go down to 3. Great. Love it. And then we'll head to design and take a look at those blocks. I'm really digging these applique blocks, so I'm going to put those first in line. You can actually move your blocks around to give you the kind of organization you want. So I think I'm going to put all my basic blocks at the end. So the half squares, the flying geese, all my sawtooths in the middle, and then all my applique stuff up front. And I don't know about you, but I love that dress form. I think she's adorable, and I think that's going to be the star of my quilt. So I'm going to drag it over. And it's a little small, as you can see, because we're using the custom set, but if I hit adjust and then click on it, you can see that the original size is 6 by 6, and I can change this here. I'm going to hit the preserve aspect ratio, that way it'll stay a square. And let's make it a little bigger. It's kind of small for that big space. So let's start with 18. You'll also see that as I move it around, you can see the numbers change on the x-axis and the y-axis. And you can even put your mouse inside this box and type a point if you know exactly where you want to space your block. All right, so I'm going to fast forward things. You're going to see me add more blocks. You're going to see me swap them out and make them bigger, make them smaller. Once I come up with a design, you'll even see me throw some fabric in there. So stick around and watch me design, and I will see you at the end, and you will find out what I come up with. Let's go. Alright, I have basic design, so I'm going to go back and take a look at borders and see if anything looks good with my design. I'm just hitting through the ribbon, and you'll notice that often the size of the border will change depending on which pattern you pick out. And I think I'm just going to keep my block corner. Throw some of those sawtooths in there, and let's start throwing in some fabric. Let's speed it up again. All right, and there we go. Like I said, this was just a quick design for me of something I do with the EQ8 free fabrics that you can find on their website every month. So go and download them, play around at EQ8, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, this little walkthrough with me. Hope to see you next time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And I'll see you next time in my quilt lab. This is Cynthia, signing off. Bye-bye.